Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and this is the second video of this small series where I teach you guys how to make a blog in ReactJS, Node, and MySQL. So I'm gonna start right where we left in the last video, and I told you guys in the last video that we're gonna start this by simply configuring the NodeMon in our backend. So in order to configure NodeMon, you need to come to the package.json, and you'll have the scripts tag, and you can remove this and insert the following command. So basically you can write start equals to node index.js, and that start is nodemon index.js. And basically what nodemon does is whenever you make a change to your application, it automatically refreshes the server so that you don't need to run node index.js every time you want to see any changes. So this is basically what nodemon does. And now if we want to run our server, we can just write npm run dev start, and you're gonna see that it ran. And if we go to our backend right here, so hello world, we can refresh it and it's working. And if we make any changes to our backend, for example, I write some stuff here, you can see that when I refresh, it automatically refreshes the server. So we're gonna start directly from this part of the project. We're gonna be building the backend for now. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using MySQL for the server, for the database, sorry. And what we need to do is we need to install MySQL. So I'm going to run yarn add MySQL, and this is the dependency we're going to use. So we're going to be installing MySQL in our project. What I think we're going to do now is we're going to create a folder called config, and this is where we're going to store all of our configuration information. So in our case right now, we're going to be adding all the database information right here, and whenever we want to use the database, we can just call this file. So I'm going to call this db.js to represent database, and we're going to call for the MySQL dependency, right? So MySQL equals require and MySQL. What happened? Oh, I just realized that I installed MySQL in the front end for some reason, because I'm not in the correct file right here. So let me go to my server and I will install MySQL again. So yarn add MySQL. Okay, here I installed my MySQL, and I'm gonna call it from our project. So we have the MySQL variable, and in order to create a connection to our server, we need to write const db, which is going to be the name of like our variable for our database, and equals to MySQL dot create connection. And inside of here, we're gonna pass a variable with all of our information that represents the password, the username, the name of the database, everything that we want. And at the end, we can write export, module dot exports equal to db, meaning that whenever we want to call for the database, we can import this file, and whenever we create an instance of this file, it will basically represent this database object right here. And the information that we're going to put here, for example, the host, the user, everything, it's basically going to be from our MySQL workbench, and we're going to be using this. This is kind of like a way to visualize our databases. So I'm going to create a database. Okay, so basically I'm in the MySQL workbench, and I'm inside of the local instance server. And inside of here, I'm gonna create a schema. I'm gonna call this blog posts, and let me click apply. It's gonna create a schema or a database called blog posts, and let me find it. It's over here. I'm gonna create a table. So the table is gonna be called, let me think. We're gonna need a table for all the posts. So yeah, that's basically it. We're gonna only have one table. So posts. And what are the columns we need? So first we need an ID, which is basically going to represent the unique ID, which is going to be auto incremented, and it has to be unique, right? So let me think what else. We need the title. So we need a title for the post, and it's gonna take a text, and we're gonna just add like 600. This is the size of the text, and it also can't be null. So let's let's remove everything. It needs to be here, not null. It needs to be, you need to insert the title in order to make the insert statement into our database. And I also want to add the post text. This is going to be like when you make a blog post, you kind of write a paragraph, and that is your blog post. So this is where everything is going to go, and here it's going to be a text, and I don't actually know how long a text can be. I'm going to just write like whatever. I don't know if this will be allowed, but I just want to make sure that I'm writing like, actually I'm going to erase this and write long text, and it will represent like a big text. So yeah, this is the data type. And we also want to grab the username, so username, and maybe even the date in which this was posted. So the username is going to take variables and characters, and the date posted is going to be a date time, right? This is a data type in MySQL, and it will automatically put whatever date you're inserting in the database, right? So then the username, the post text, and the title needs to be not null, and the ID will automatically increment whenever you add something to your database. So this is the basic structure of our database. I'm going to click apply. So we created our MySQL database. If I want to see the database, I can just like go here and let me go to tables, go to post, click select rows, and you can see that now our rows are over here. We have 0 stuff in our database because we haven't inserted anything yet. However, since we're using our local host, a database in our local host, the names for our host, the server, everything is going to be usually the same. As I explained in my other video, for the host you can put root. For the user you can put, I think you can put root as well, or user. Oh no, actually it's local host, right? And no, host is local host, user is root, sorry. I get kind of confused when I'm doing this. So user, then password, I set my password to be equal to password, and if you haven't set anything, then just write password as well, because it's going to be the default one, so password. Then what else? Database. This is the name of the database we created over here. So I created mine and called it blog posts. So I'm gonna come here and call it blog posts. And we can save this, and now we can go to our index.js, and inside of here we can require, so we're gonna import this file. So const db equals to require, and we go and write here the relative path to that database file. So /config/db. So now we made a connection with our database, and what we can do is we can try to insert something into it. So in our app.get, I literally just want to test to see if it's working. So instead of sending hello world, I want to create a MySQL statement. So I want a db.query, and this is how you make a query in MySQL. So database.query, and inside of here you can write something. So I'm gonna write insert into the name of the table. So the table is called posts, so posts, and we write here the columns you want to insert. So I want to insert a title, I want to insert a post text, and I also want to insert a user name, right? This is just for tests. So I want to insert the values of let me see, a title. This is the title of the text of the post, right? So let me add also, now the post text is gonna be whatever, and the username is gonna be my name, so Pedro Tech. And I'm gonna close this, and we're gonna see if this works. Let me also, oh, since I already restarted the server, let me refresh this, and something happened. Let's look at it. Okay. Something wrong, column doesn't match the name row 1. Okay guys, I'm back here. The error was really dumb. I just didn't add this comma right here, and as you can see when I refreshed it, the information was added to the database, meaning that it's working. So we inserted the first element in our database, and now our kind of like our endpoint is working. I'm going to delete this row because this was just a test. And wait, what happened? No, I want to delete the whole row. So delete rows, right? So I'm going to delete this and apply. Okay, so let's come back and let's create the endpoint. So we're going to create two things. So let me erase this. And actually, let me just copy this because we're gonna reuse this for whenever we create the app.create endpoint. So basically in Express, there's ways you can create endpoints, and since we're just having one endpoint where we're gonna be creating, deleting, and reading stuff, we don't actually need to create routes in our backend. We are gonna do everything in our index.js file. So that's just like how I think would be the best way to approach this. So we're gonna actually erase everything we did. We're gonna come back and we're gonna have a route for the app.get, and we're gonna have a route for the app.post. And this app.post is going to be, let me see, /API create. So basically, whenever we want to create a post, we call this HTTP request. We're gonna make an HTTP request to this endpoint, this /API/create, and we can name this whatever we want, but we're gonna name it this way because it looks better. And inside of here, we can pass a rec and a res, as we did above, a function, and we can make the insert statement to our database. But instead of just inserting random stuff like we did here, we're gonna be actually inserting other stuff. I'm not gonna do it right now. Like, I'm just gonna finish working this db.query statement. So after you created the string, so after you pass the MySQL statement, you can also pass a function. So what I'm gonna actually pass is an error and a result, and this basically represents the two following things. The error represents any error that occurs whenever you're making this MySQL call. So if there is an error, so if error, I literally just wanna console log the error. I just wanna see what happened, and if something happened, I wanna see what the problem is, right? So if there's no error, I wanna just console log the results. I wanna see if something is if there's a response. So console log results. So this is basically how we make a query to MySQL through our index.js, and we're gonna be doing this more times. So let's come here to our front end now, and we're gonna be creating the create post page, because now that we can actually add something to our database, we wanna create a page where you're gonna be inserting values, and we're gonna be sending it to our backend. So let's close, oh, I opened this. Let's actually close our backend server. So I'm gonna close both of these terminals, and I'm gonna be closing this and this and this, and I'm going back to my front end. Whenever you're working with a full stack project, this is something you're gonna be doing a lot. You're gonna be going back and forth between your client and your server files, so just be aware of that. So I'm gonna go to my create post, and I'm gonna open here again, and since I closed my terminal, now I'm back to the main directory, and I can just change my directory to the client folder, and I can write npm start, meaning that I'm starting my React application. So it's gonna refresh here, and it's gonna be the same because it didn't make any change. So in our create posts, we're gonna erase this, and we're actually just gonna add a div. So this div is going to be basically a div where we're gonna upload stuff. So class name, upload post. And inside of here, we're gonna be taking an input for the title. So type text, and we're also going to be taking another input of type text area, maybe. I've never actually used a text area in React before for some reason, I just realized. And we also want to use an input for the username, right? So type text, and these are the three things we need. So one input for the username, one input for the title, and I'm actually gonna put this up here, and one input for the whole text. Let's see how it looks. So it didn't appear because we're not in the correct route. So now we are in the correct route, and maybe I don't even need to write an input. There's actually a direct tag in MySQL or in HTML, sorry, called text area. I'm just gonna use that because I think that should work. Yeah, it works. So we have a text area here, and we can write paragraphs if we want to. So this is basically the three things we're gonna have, and we're gonna format it so that it looks pretty good. So let's go to our app.css. I'm gonna import the app.css here. So let's go back 2 pages, and let's grab app.css. So in our app.css, we're gonna be calling the upload post. So let's come here. and create a CSS class called upload post, and inside of it we're gonna display flex, and let's add a flex direction to be a row, no, actually column, because we want to stack one on top of each other. So you can see that now there are one on top of each other. However, you can see that they're pretty ugly because they're all stretched out and they're not centered. So in order to fix that, we need to grab the create post and just add a flex for it as well. I accidentally used the wrong braces. So instead of, let me actually just write display flex, justify content center, and align item center. So you can see that now everything is in the center, and we actually want to put this a bit in the middle. So let me just take a look at what happened. Oh, it's not in the middle because actually our create post isn't currently like taking up the whole height of the screen. So we need to add height equals to 100%. So let's see if it works. It still didn't work. Let me inspect element, right? So if we go here, you can see that the create post is only taking up one part of the screen. We want to make it equal to everything under here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it equal to the height of the height of your browser screen minus the height of our header. And now remember, we created a header, our navbar actually, to be 80 pixels. So if I write here calc, which is a function in CSS, so basically we're calculating 100 VH, which is the height of our browser, minus 80 pixels. And you can see that now it works. Everything is centered in the middle. So we want to come to our upload post, and we actually want to make this with a height of like 400 pixels and a width of like, I don't know, 300 pixels, something like that. And I want to add a border. So border 1 pixels, no, actually 2 pixels, solid and black. Let's take a look at how it's looking. It's looking pretty ugly actually. Let me increase the size. I'm gonna make this 500 and I'm gonna make this 500 as well. Should be a square, right? Yeah. So look, it's looking kind of good for now. I'm gonna change this to coral so it kind of matches with this on the top, and let's kind of style this. We're gonna be adding we're gonna be touching the inputs, so upload post and input. So come here and straight up change all the inputs by simply adding a width to them. So I'm gonna make them 80% of the div that they're inside, and I want to add a height to them. I want to make them about like 50 pixels. I don't know if that's gonna be too big. It is too big. No, it is not actually. These are the two inputs we're talking about, right? So they work out, and we're gonna treat the text area after this. So we're basically going to be adding some justify content to this. So center and align item center, because whenever we put this, we're just centering everything inside of our div. So we also want to add some margin between the inputs. So margin of 10 pixels, and you'll see that now everything is kind of like separated from each other. And to like finalize it, to like end it, I'm gonna basically add a label with the name of whatever you need to write on that text. So I'm gonna write username, and I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna write here the title, and over here it's just going to be the post text, something like that. And actually I did this wrong. I'm gonna copy this, sorry, and I'm gonna put this on the bottom. So you can see everything will line up. So it doesn't need to look perfect as I mentioned before, but it's okay for now. You have your username, you have your title, and you have your post text. And this is kind of like resizing, and you can do crazy stuff with it. I actually don't know how to work with text areas. I don't get why this happens. Maybe you can add like a functionality here, so resizable. I don't know what you can do with this, but that's okay. I'll not worry with that. So basically, we're gonna increase the size of our font text so that it looks a little bit better. So font size. No, actually I'm gonna do this here because I also want to increase the size of the title. So font size, I want to make it 23 pixels, something like that. And also I forgot to remove this. So if we come back here and we refresh this, what happened? So it closed my server. Let me run it again. So npm start, and let's see. It will look kind of good. Yeah, it looks okay, right? And this should be a little bit bigger. I'm going to increase the size of the post text. So let me just grab the text area and make it equal to 80% as well. And the height will be equal to 60 pixels. It should be a little bit larger, right? It's not grabbing for some reason. So let me just make this equal to like 500 pixels. Yeah, now it's kind of working for some reason. Okay, so this is what we have for now, and I think it looks pretty good. I'm just gonna copy the font that we added here, and I'm gonna add it to the create post kind of page right here. So I'm gonna divide this to, I'm gonna add a comment here and say create post. I could have literally created another CSS file. I won't bother with it. I can literally come here and write this, and yeah, now everything has the same font and it looks good. So over here you can write stuff, and when I come here to my font size, I also want to add this to the inputs so that whenever you're writing something inside the input, it also has the same height and the same font size as everything else. So we created our inputs right here, and what we want to do is we want to basically get everything from that input and pass it into our backend. So we're going to come to our create post function, and inside of here we just want to create some states. So I'm going to create here const, and we're going to create a state for the username, and the function set username, and we're going to be equal to use state, and it's going to be an empty string, right? So empty string, it all works out. And it already auto imported use state, so that's fine. I'm just going to copy this 2 more times so that this becomes a title and set title, and this becomes a text, right? I'm actually going to call this text so that we know what we're talking about. So set text. And now we have 3 states that we want to set them equal to whatever we're writing in our input. So if we give it an onChange event to each one of these inputs, and we basically just add a function that will grab an event, and it will set for example, in this case, we're setting the username. So if it's going to set the username equal to the event.target.value, now we're filling out all of our states. And I'm going to copy this and do it the same way over here. And for the text area as well. So everything should be working out. Let's kind of like console log all of our states. So let me create a use effect hook, and over here it's only going to update whenever we make any changes to the inputs, right? So to the variables that we created over here. So let me come here and write username, title, and text. I'm just gonna use it to like kind of like test and see if everything is working. So I'm gonna console log a message saying the username plus the title plus the text. So this is just to test if whatever we're writing in our inputs is being retrieved and stored in these variables. I just realized that I'm using set username to each one of those inputs because I just copy and pasted. I'm actually going to change this. So set title for the title input and set text for the text input. And I'm going to save this again. And if we open our our console, you can see that when I write here, it's writing whatever it's in the username. If I write on the title, it's going to add this to here. And if I write my name here, it's working. So everything is working out. Everything is storing in the variables, which means that we are ready to make our request to our backend. And let me erase this. And in order to make that request, I'm going to create a function called const send post. So actually submit post, it's better. So submit post equals to this. And inside of here, we're basically going to be using Xuse, which is a library to make HTTP requests. and send it to our backend. So we didn't actually create a button to just submit stuff, so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to create a button and say submit post, and inside of here I'm going to give it an onClick event and pass the function that we created above, so submit post. And you can see that now a button appears here. And let me go to the CSS real quick and just kind of like call the button, so button margin of like 10 pixels, so it doesn't like look, it's not literally touching the post text. I'll leave it like this. I'll style the button later, but this is basically our format. And let's close the CSS. And over here we need to install Axios. So if we write yarn add Axios, you'll see that it will install the package, and we can just import Axios from Axios. And if we come to our submit post, we can grab all the information and make an Axios post request, and send to our local host. So I'm gonna grab our backend URL. So we're making a request to our backend API. So we're gonna grab the URL for the backend. We gotta post it here, and we gotta put the slash to basically mean what route we're gonna reach. And if you remember, I created a route called /API/create. So basically this is what we're gonna be calling. So I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna create this request, and I wanna pass some information. So what I'm gonna pass is, I wanna pass the username. So username, and for the username, I'm gonna pass the username. So basically this is an object, right? So this is the name of the value of the property we're gonna be sending, and this is what we're gonna be sending. And this basically is being filled by this. So let me come here. Let me also create one for the title, and again, set it equal to the title. And let me create one for the text and set it equal to the text. Okay, now we're making the correct HTTP request, so we can come back to our backend. And instead of just sending like pre-written values inside of here, we can make a request over here to create a variable. So const username equal to rec.body.username. So basically this is how we access a variable from the front end by an HTTP request. So you gotta make it literally how you wrote in the front end. And in the front end, I wrote username with a capital N, right? So this is the variables that we're accessing. We're gonna create, when you write rec.body.something, the dot something needs to be this right here. So I'm gonna be accessing the username through this, basically this syntax. And I'm gonna do the same thing for the title and the text. So title, so rec.body title, and text, rec.body.text, right? So we're grabbing everything. However, this won't work immediately. Why? Because we're not parsing all the JSON data coming to our project. So what we gotta do is we gotta come here and write const, actually not const, we gotta write app.use, and we gotta call the express to basically parse the JSON. So express.json, and that's it. And that will basically make it work. Before we make any MySQL statements, let's just test to see if everything is console logging correctly. So console.log, and we want to console log the username. So username plus the title, just like we did before, plus the text. So we're going to be testing to see if everything we send from the front end is coming to the back end. And I'm just going to like comment this out so we're not making any requests. And I'm going to start our backend. So I'm going to open a new terminal. I'm going to navigate towards the server file, so the server folder, and I'm going to write npm run dev start, which is the command for nodemon. So npm run dev start. You can see that now everything is working here. And let me refresh this. Why isn't it refreshing? Because I'm not doing anything. Let me res.send something just so we can see. And let's refresh this. Okay, yeah. Now you can see that our server is running. So if we come here, we refresh this, we go to our username and write a username, so Pedro Tech, which is my YouTube channel. I write here new title, And our post text is just gonna be, again, like a bunch of stuff, so whatever, and I click submit post. I hope everything was console logged. Let me see if it worked. Something didn't work, and I already know what it is. We're now using course. So basically, when you're making some like when you're basically sending this information from the front end to the back end, you gotta install something called course, and it is an external package. So I'm gonna basically be going to my server, so cd server, and I'm gonna be installing something called course. So course, and if I come here and I just say add.use course, so course, oh, I didn't require course, so const course equals require course. So I know that like sometimes in this video I make some mistakes, and I'm literally like, I don't think I will cut this from this video, because like there's no one who doesn't forget stuff. So basically this is like a way to kind of show you guys that you'll probably be stuck on a bunch of stuff. Many times in this video I'll be stopping to like figure out what errors I'm getting, because I always, like everyone always gets some bugs, and this is just a good way, I think, of showing that this happens all the time. So now that we installed course, let's try this again. I want to basically look at my console, submit post, and no errors appeared, meaning that it should have console logged everything. And as you can see in our server terminal right here, as you can see, it's the server because it's saying nodemon, everything we wrote there is appearing. So that means that we can finally insert everything to our database because the information is getting to our backend. So let's erase this. And instead of just console logging this information, we want to pass these variables into this function right here. And if you don't know, in MySQL, you can actually, instead of just writing the variables inside of this text, you can write question marks. So I'm writing question marks right here. And since it's 3 values, I'm writing 3 question marks. And right after the string, you can add an array with all of the variables you want to insert. So the first question mark is equal to the username. So I'm going to put it the first value in the array. The second one is equal to the title, and the third one is equal to the text. Actually, I just realized that the order is not correct. The first one should be the title, the second one should be the text, and the last one should be the username. So, okay, that should work. So you can see that in our database, there is nothing here. Yeah, no, there's actually, what? Oh no, this was something else. Like I inserted that before. So let me delete this. Delete rows and apply, so you guys can see that everything should be working from now. So let's go here and let me click submit post and look at our database. Yes, everything was sent, and you can see that our backend is kind of working. We just created our first endpoint, meaning that we connected our frontend to our backend. Now we're able to create posts in our frontend, send them to the backend, and in the next video, because this video is 100% already super long, I'm sorry about that. In the next video, we're going to be formatting everything and sending everything to our frontend so that you can see every post in the main page slot. So we're going to be working with some UI, we're going to be working with React, we're going to be working with some Node. It's all going to be fine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry that I made this video too long. Sorry that I made some mistakes. These things happen, you know. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys are liking this series, please leave a like down below. Please comment if you want to see more. So this series as a whole was advised by a viewer who wanted to see a tutorial on this. So if you have any comments, any ideas, please comment down below, because I'm definitely going to read and I'm going to answer you guys. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please stick around, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you guys next time.